Hello there, and welcome to Sith Happens, a Star Wars podcast. I am Eric the Dadalorian, and I want to welcome you guys to our 7th episode today. I am joined by the guy who is a little hairy to be a stormtrooper. He's the son of a bantha and a moof milker, but I call him Matty Ice.
I like to think of myself as the tattoo to your ween, but I told you I had a good one tonight.
That's a good one.
I am known to my dear friend Eric as Matty Ice, otherwise known on the internet as Black Series Daily Desk. Welcome you over to the podcast. We always love to have you guys. I'm very excited tonight to talk about what is the third to last episode ever.
Bro, it's going by quick.
Of the Bad Batch. Dude, it is going by so fast. And
it really
these single you and I were saying, I think like a week or two ago, like if only this season was double length, like we would just do a double episode every week, right? Like It's like these single episodes are brutal because you're just on the edge of your seat and you're like looking at, like, sometimes I just don't check the clock and I just hope there's more time.
And that was definitely this week, man. Like, this week definitely had me on the edge of my seat, and we're going to get into the specifics of the episode here shortly. First, I just want to say thank you to all of our listeners and watchers for joining us today. The first thing I'm going to say is apologies in advance for sounding like I'm Darth Vader with a cold. My kids got me with the ick, basically, and I am struggling hardcore.
I was dying earlier today, and then I died. Now I'm dead.
You can ask Matt. We were talking last night, and basically I was on my deathbed. Feeling a little bit better today, thankfully. But we got a lot to get into today with the most recent episode of The Bad Batch, which is episode 13, Into the Breach. We also got our collector's corner that we both grabbed some new goodies recently, and I can't wait to show those off. We both know what we're talking about already. And at the end of this episode, we have another giveaway I'm very excited for. So let's get straight into this, you Sith heads. So, Matt, we had episode 13, Into the Breach. Now, I'm not going to go Admiral Yularen narrating on this motherfucker, but
I've stopped asking.
Yeah, I don't think I got the voice to do Admiral Yularen today, especially.
But, never did.
No, never did. But so for this week, we had episode 13, Into the Breach. The episode opens inside Mount Tantus, where we find Omega meeting the Force-sensitive children in the vault. We cut to the Batch meeting up with Echo, who still has former Vice Admiral Rampart, where they plan to get on an Imperial station in orbit around Coruscant, where they can get the coordinates to Tantus. Dr. Carr continues sample testing of Omega. Omega hatches a plan with the other kids and begins to plan their escape. The Batch and Rampart land on the station, where they manage to find a ship departing for Tantus, where they hatch a plan to hitch a ride to the planet on the departing vessel itself when it launches.
I can see it. Sorry, Doc.
You're good. Omega's plan takes shape as she manages to discover a way out of the vault by investigating the medical port in her holding room. Echo manages to get into the docking bay with the vessel headed to Tantus, and security is extremely high. He manages to get on board the vessel, though, through a droid tube, and Echo disables the shuttle proximity sensor literally just in time for Hunter to attach to the shuttle hull as the group now heads directly for Tantus, Omega, and undoubtedly the conclusion of the Bad Batch.
Right. I want to thank you quickly for writing that whole thing out, because you definitely look like you're going through spice withdrawal. So it was a fantastic synopsis, to be sure. And before we start talking, I want to do our standard spoiler alert.
Yes.
So we love that everybody listens. This is a podcast full of spoilers, not just for the Bad Batch, but between Eric and myself, we know more about Star Wars history than we do about American history. And we talk about everything from the books to the games to the comics to the movies to the toys. So we want you to listen. We welcome you to listen, but don't get mad at us if something you haven't finished reading or haven't heard of comes up. With that said, please give us the views and the listens. But that's a warning for you to not get mad and drop it in the comments.
Catch up first, though. Catch up first.
Yeah, catch up. Yeah, if you want. Yeah, just trying to. I'm just a whore for those. The streams. And
no. Yeah, I got you. And so, but yeah. So this week's episode, it didn't have quite the weight some of the other episodes had, but I thought the episode itself was really great in terms of how it felt when they were on the station in Coruscant. Because one, there was a ton of Easter eggs in there, if you weren't aware. So firstly, when they're in that control room in the control station, that is the literal exact same outline and everything of the room that Luke, Han, and Chewie and the droids go into in A New Hope. Same exact thing.
I loved that. I really
I
loved
thought it
that.
was so cool.
I didn't. Everybody's talking about Easter eggs. I'm going to be totally honest. I watched it twice, and that may be the one that I picked up on. Like I picked up on that immediately, and I love that. Like we're drifting into this Imperial era, and era, and when we think about it, or error, galactically, but when like you start having moments like that, right? Like I remember like the first season when they're on Tantus and you start seeing the original like TK, like Ralph McQuarrie concept art, like stormtrooper uniforms and stuff,
Yeah.
and you're drifting into this era, and it starts to really like unfold, showing you, like I've always said, it tells you how a totalitarian regime takes over, right? This is now that also that progression of really seeing the things that we see when we get to like an Andor, right? Where you're full
Yeah.
Imperial. The rooms look like the rooms in the original movie. There's all these things that are coming together that really kind of like showcase and give you those Easter eggs.
There's always been like a certain feel to the way that Empire really is.
Yeah. And it's that, I love, it's like that 1970s sci-fi feel. Like I always joke that everything in Star Wars operates on a lever and a button. Like it'll be like, I'm at my control station. It's just you lift something and then there's like a white, red, and blue button and you hit one of them. And I'm like, that's how you fly the show? Okay. I mean, we didn't see how Han Solo flew the Falcon till Solo. So, I mean, I get it, but it's just.
That is true. I never thought of that.
Yeah, and I love his it's not like a it's like kind of like you spin it and you flip it. It's like a mix between like like a joystick and like a pirate, like a ship wheel or whatever you call that. But I loved it. But yeah, like that's really it. It's that aesthetic like we're talking about, and it's just really cool, very specific, and pretty iconic. I think like anything that's ever attempted to copy it after, your immediate thought kind of goes to that's Star Wars. That's that 70s. It's the panels with the little like greeblies and kind of like you don't even understand how you could use it. It looks like just switches you flip or like one lever, and very cool to see that kind of come.
Hit the wrong button and fire the Death Star. Basically,
well, there's three reactors, right? There's three cannons, so you may only fire one. Get lucky. Then we got
a reactor leak on this level. Gotta lock it down.
Everything's fine here. We're fine. How are you?
Largely very dangerous.
There's no reactor on that floor.
Yes, well, I talked to Dave Johnson in Stormtrooper Engineering, and he said there is a reactor here.
Dave Johnson?
Who are you?
But yeah, man, it's interesting. There's stuff I really liked in this episode, but overall, and I kind of said this to you earlier, it fell a little flat to me. And it might have been, you and I always talk about expectations versus reality, and like, your theories can be like not yours, but like someone's theories, mine can be like fan fiction almost in their head, and they get disappointed. Mm-hmm. And I think I fell into that trap. I was on such a high last week when we were talking, and I said maybe somebody dies, the stakes are going to get set this week, and I just felt kind of like it was almost like the Omega stuff was fantastic. There were things I liked, like those Easter eggs. I love the batch like stripping their armor down, so they're down to that like gray black armor. But other than that, it was really the Omega stuff that resonated with me, and that's what had me on the edge of my seat, because I knew when we got like 10 minutes in the episode, I knew this is just going to be an episode that is very much a chessboard setup for the next two episodes, and it's only 25 minutes. So I started in my mind just being like, go back to Omega, because her arc came so full circle.
Oh, it absolutely.
In this episode. When she said, I like a challenge. I was like, oh shit, that's a Hunter line. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it's just like everything she did. And when she said to the kids, I've already escaped here, and I'm going to show you guys how to escape, and you're going to come with me. You were just like, Omega this whole season has been coming into her own. And this was the moment. She's back at the facility. She's escaped at once. It's the utmost confidence, meditating on the way there, knowing they're going to try to get her. And even if that tracker didn't hit it in her heart, she knows, I think, those boys are coming for her. And just the confidence, the culmination of all the skills she's learned, the her knowing she got the pen when she went in and looked up, even when she put everything back together when they came. It was like a crazy. The doctor's name was like, I love the names of all the characters. They're always like Dr. Evil-ish, like but like when the doctor came in and everything was put back together, I was like, she is a full-fledged, every piece of training every one of them ever gave her. She's really
turned into every good piece of every one of all four of the Bad Batch, honestly.
Absolutely. And that's why, like, honestly, I'm redacting that I think they're going to maybe die.
5, sorry.
Yeah, all five. Yeah, five. Well, that's you got to. Do you count Echo as the fifth or Crosshair as the fifth now?
See, that's a good question. It's gonna be Echo for me always, I think.
Same.
And that's a good thing to get into too, because as we were watching this episode, the real James Bondy feel that we had Echo breaking into that ship.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I got so scared. Echo's one of my favorite characters in
I know
all
he's like
Star
one of
Wars.
your. Yeah, I think of you whenever he's on screen, and I'm worried about him. I'm like, oh god, Eric must be falling out of his chair right now.
So I was bugging the fuck out during this episode because he was so close. There were so many times he was so close to getting caught, and it was like I was like, is this how he goes? Like trying to get the ship and everything else is like if he dies right now, like I swear I'll go cry it like in a ball in the corner of my room after this.
I'm starting to think like I think I was just saying earlier. I don't know if I thought it and didn't say it, but I don't know. We've been like I don't know if characters are going to die. I don't know. What my vote is for who's going to go first. We didn't want to think about it. We've talked a little about the impact each character could
Yeah.
have, but I don't necessarily know if characters are going to like how many characters are going to die. My money's still on Crosshair, which is going to kill me. That's my curl in a ball thing.
Yeah.
But other than that, I feel like they're really setting us up either for a misdirect with that because everybody's thinking it's the last season. So they're either going to really hit us over the head and break our hearts, or it might be a little bit of like there's more story to tell. And I think for
That's
some
kind of
of
what I'm
these
starting to think
characters,
too.
I think for some of these characters there will be more story to tell. I think Hunter's arc has been great. I don't necessarily know if it's closed. I was thinking because his whole arc originally was like becoming Omega's dad. He's taken a little bit of a back seat this season,
I've
which
noticed
makes
that.
me kind of wonder if he's going to have a death because I feel like they do. Wrecker's had so many close calls. Who knows?
Yeah.
Crosshair, I think his arc is done. Like Crosshair's arc is done. I
The
love
redemption
him.
the redemption is pretty much there. Like I think we can count on him. I think it'll be Crosshair making that final sacrifice for Omega
Agreed.
now. And like we talked about at the beginning of this season, like, oh yeah, they're all gonna bite the dust and everything else. I'm starting to think like you are too, where it's like later down the road, these guys maybe, when we get towards the last episode, yeah, I think Crosshair bites it, but like maybe Hunter and Wrecker like take her off or into somewhere else or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's not going the way that I thought it would. I'll say that.
No. After this episode, no, and I love it. I think for me, again, I built this episode up in my head. But for me, Rebels and Clone Wars really stuck the landing. And I would say, like, the Clone Wars finale to me has some of my favorite, those last 4 episodes have some of my favorite moments in Star Wars.
Oh,
right?
easily.
And like, Clone Wars for me, obviously, I think for all of us, very special place for all of us Star Wars kids. Rebels for me just always felt the most like Star Wars. And I feel like they absolutely stuck the landing with that extended final episode and the episode before it. And I think it's going to be interesting to watch these last 2 episodes because there is a standard that they need to meet at this point with it that it feels like they're headed for it. I mean, when we do ratings, you'll hear my rating for this episode. I don't think it's as bad as you think it's going to be.
Yeah.
But like there's a responsibility. Like it's interesting because if you going into the season, there was always mixed episodes. I enjoyed the whole thing, but there was mixed episodes.
Yeah.
They have done such a good job this season that I think there's a standard they've set that this episode and then the second episode where they fight, the ground thing, the sort of Sarlacc pit. The sort of Sarlacc pit, yeah. When they fought that episode was also a little bit like, okay, at least at the end they got coordinates to a galaxy. This one felt a little like that to me. They're the only 2 episodes of the season that were a little bit like it was good, but like if you look at the other things they've done, middling.
Yeah, no, and I think that's just the biggest thing with it. We've had so many other episodes this season that just were some of the best shit we've ever seen in Star Wars animation. Honestly.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's hard to hold up to those. The episode was great. I loved it, but it didn't hold some of the same weight as these other episodes really did.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they've built in doing this, they've kind of, in a good way, as writers, they've backed themselves into a corner based on the quality of this season, the storytelling, the script writing, the animation, the trajectory. They have a responsibility with these last 2 episodes to land it. And I hope to God one of them is extended. Because to me, I don't know how you can stick this landing with 44 minutes of content left.
Yeah, dude, there's a lot to cram into if they wrap everything up, honestly.
Yeah. And
So
that's, I think, for me, my biggest concern. But I'm also like not concerned. I think, with Filoni
unless they
being
just
such
hit
a,
us like, hey, here's an hour and a half finale.
I would love that. Remember the hour and 15-minute premiere?
Yeah, it might be something like that. I got a feeling we're
Yeah.
going to see something like that.
Yeah, I have a feeling too. I mean, Rebels, I think, did a 45-minute finale. Clone Wars was all in time. But when you think about those episodes, like they're like a 2-hour movie, the
Yeah.
last 4 of Clone Wars. So in those episodes, you started with Mandalore, and then you get to those last 2 that are actually on a Venator, and it's like that's so much easier, like for that to land to 25-minute episodes because it's all like one single moving thing. There's no other things to cut to. You kind of know the arc they're closing there is Maul, Ahsoka, and Rex, and they kind of get you there really quickly in a good way. So this is where there's a lot of arcs to close here. So I'm hoping, not projecting, I'm not going to disappoint myself. I think the responsibility to stick the landing is there, and I think that there's a really good chance they're going to stick that landing.
I do think it's interesting that they're leaving, like, we're so close to finishing off the season and there's still a lot of things left. And one of the things I wondered, I was like, I do wonder if we are going to see some more Asajj in like her own show, like a Dark Disciple spinoff, or like, I know that was before all this, but like something with her down the line, because it felt weird that she came in for that one episode.
Well, what I think is kind of cool about that, it's a great point. I think they're setting it up. There's more story to tell. Like her saying she has more lives, the thing I told you about where like they heard sister. Quinlan Voss put her in there, and we know, like we've talked about in Kenobi, that he was like, they were always like unlikely friends. And when he saw it in the shed in Kenobi, that hideout, and he went, Quinlan was here? So Quinlan, at this point in time, is definitely kicking around. So even her and Quinlan coming back together, now that there's no Jedi Order, and they had that love affair kind of a Dark Disciple. Yeah. What a great way to bring that story in. Like, and I think that one thing almost all fans can agree on, Asajj Ventress is badass as shit and such a great character that, like, you're just excited to see more Asajj. And there's a very rich amount of storytelling I think they can tell there. And I think they plan to. That's why they brought her in and had all of those kind of vague, foreshadowy, there's more story to tell here. And I mean, that fight may go down as, depending on what happens, as like in my top 5 moments of this season.
Oh,
like,
it was some of the cleanest animation I've seen.
And again, like we talked about with the episode, with the last week's, with the 2 giant prison transport trucks.
Yes.
That felt like it was a live action scene. And that fight was just crisp animation, but she was doing Jackie Chan moves. There was Brazilian jiu-jitsu. That also had that weight behind it that I feel like used to only come from mocap. Like you could just tell the weight behind any mocap fight in the shows. But that had that weight behind it, and I don't think that was mocap. It would have been like announced that it was mocap.
I don't think it was, because it didn't look like it was mocap, but it was some high quality animation, straight up.
Yeah, I sometimes rewatch that for fun. Like I'm a big guy. I have a big thing about all these big moments in the shows. Like my favorite moment in Star Wars, which we'll get into in another episode. I'd love to do like a top 5 moments with you.
That'll be a good May the 4th event for us, actually.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah. My favorite moment is the season finale where, the collision course with Vader and Ahsoka, I am no Jedi in Rebels. Mm-hmm. It makes me cry every time. I've watched that show, like random episodes of that show, so many times in my life. I will not watch that episode unless I'm doing a full Rebels run through. I don't watch the last 4 episodes of the Clone Wars unless I'm doing a Clone Wars run through, or I'm doing at least like a final season run through, or like a select arcs run through. Because in my opinion, those moments, the more you watch them, the less they gut punch you, the less they make you cry, the less they resonate. Dude. You still love them and get it, but you're desensitizing yourself to the moment. So I make myself earn them. Stuff like that Asajj fight, if I'm in a bad mood, I will just queue up that episode and skip to that fight. That is just so awesome.
I got kind of like the same thing with some moments of Star Wars where they just have that emotional impact. Like, there's some, and like I'm a big music guy, so like some of the scores, like it happened to me today, man. Where like, so I was at work and I had Ahsoka playing in the background, and it was episode 5 with the Purgles flying past the New Republic ships, and that score behind that, just absolutely one of the best scores I've heard in Star Wars in years.
And Kevin Kiner finally got his due for all that
Oh
with
my god,
Ahsoka. But
fantastic!
that episode was like watching it through tears. Like I won't ever watch Ahsoka again without watching all the episodes in a row because you need that
That's what
impact.
I've been doing.
Yeah, no, and like honestly, man, like, that's the best way to do it. And honestly, like Ahsoka's theme, that like
Yeah.
da 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 da. So that theme, there's a guy like called like the Orchestra Magnifique or something on Spotify, and when that theme was just run on the Clone Wars, and then with Rebels, the kind of alternate version of it, when spoiler alert, she in quotes died. That was so emotional to me, and this guy made this great version, like 4-minute version. I'll flip it to you, and I'll go back and
Yeah,
find
I'd
it.
love to hear that.
And I would listen to it and get like all choked up because we knew the show was coming, right? This was like, after the announcement. And I think like 2 years ago, my Spotify like rap thing, my number one song was that song. And my wife and I were like dying laughing because it's like I listen to all this like, punk rock and like weird indie and like dance stuff. But my number one song was some random dude on a keyboard and synth writing an awesome version of that song. And when I listen to the way they play it at the end of the final episode, you have the Anakin's like looking over her and she's on her path. That gets me. And so I don't listen to that as much. And it got me when she was in Mando. When you saw her appear in that episode and they were flying off. And the best part of that, and I know we're talking about Bad Batch, but we like sex.
I was about to say, we got way off topic.
The best part of that was the red light on her when they took off, because that's Yoda with There Is Another. Back to the Batch, though. Guys, we warned everybody. We talk a lot of Star Wars with spoilers.
Yes.
But back to the Batch. Yeah, I think
we can honestly just wrap it up and give our rating, because there really wasn't too much that happened within the episode.
Yeah, and that was my thing. I think we're going to get into segues here because it's a little bit of a setup episode, and honestly, in my opinion, they could have done a 40-minute episode and got us there.
Yeah,
I agree. It just felt a little like this could either been covered in 8 minutes of an episode or got us just to Tantus and done a little bit more. But yeah, I'll give my rating. I give it a 6.
See, I'm at a 7, and I just went a little bit higher because I thought that scene with Echo getting into the shuttle was really good.
So. That's fair, and Echo's your boy, so like that's like you have your great Echo moment, and yeah.
So
totally.
Excuse me, but yeah, no, I thought the episode was a solid episode. I don't got any really complaints with it. Would have liked to have seen him get the Tantus on it, like you said.
Yeah,
but overall, not too bad, man. So
no, not at all.
Now we moving on to our collector corner segment. So. Now I know you got something in really, really great in this last week, man. So why don't you kind of give us a segue into what you got?
Okay, so as most of you know from me talking about it on every cast we have, I run a photo page on Instagram called Black Series Daily Desk. I've been taking a little break. Photos have been more sporadic, but that's because I'm working on a multi-part story that'll be daily posts. I'm not going to talk about what the story is. In doing that, about a year or two ago, I met a dude who on Instagram is Lone Wolf Labs. It's lone_wolf_labs. And he will take like Landspeeder Luke 3D prints and he will print them and paint them for me. He also makes his own awesome foam dioramas. They like have lights in them and everything. I've used them in multiple posts on my page. So I got a huge shipment from him that I've been planning with him for like 6 months to do this story. And it was the only thing holding me back. So the thing I'm going to show you that's so cool is I actually haven't opened the whole shipment because it's going to take me like 45 minutes at some point this week to catalog it and get it stored and then ultimately figure out how it goes in and out of storage for photos. But so the bunker from Kenobi, when they split the guy in half, he printed a Landspeeder Luke print for me, Lone Wolf Labs did, and painted it. This has a lot more pieces that I haven't opened. Like there is a little tent thing that goes over on the side here, a computer console. So it's just an awesome, it's like a work of art to me. And you can see how big it is in my hands. I have a figure with me just so you can see the scale of it. And like figures can stand on top of it. It's just a sick thing to have when you take photos.
That for someone like you as an opener, it has to be just top tier.
Oh, 100%. And it's a thing where he's so good about customer service and everything. And he'll send me what he's thinking about painting. He'll send me samples. There have been times where I've been like, I need you to repaint stuff. I want to add this. He's great about it. It's awesome customer service. I think he does the 3D prints. His prices, I've seen a lot of people that print things. And their prices when they paint them, like to me, I don't disparage anything. There's no wrong way to collect. We always say there's no wrong pricing. It's what you think your work is worth. I think his work is fantastic and maybe worth a little more than he charges, but I know he's at a love of the game. I've seen people do prints like this off other STL files that people post that when they're painted and I look at the prices, I'm like, I don't know, it's a lot to get that painted, even though I can't paint. So can't recommend enough if you're a person who loves dios, likes to, do pictures of dioramas, just wants to spruce up your shelves. Really, go. It's Lone Wolf Labs, lone_wolf_labs. Can't, again, recommend him enough. Cool dude named Kevin.
Yeah, and we'll go ahead and we'll drop them down in the description below so you guys can actually check them out too. So now I guess it's on to me. So
I'm so pumped for this. You told me you got it, and I didn't even look. I'm waiting.
Yeah, so you guys, Matt, I am a helmet guy. I love the different helmets. I think I got about like 7 or 8 of them now. And this one, I'm holding it here. I'm going to wait to pop it up though. So this one was popping up in Ollie's for a while, but my area never got one. But it is the Trapper Wolf helmet.
God, talk about a sick helmet. And Dave Filoni playing the character. That is a piece I'm jealous. I'm not a helmet guy. I own one. I'm jealous of that piece. That is great.
I loved it. The fact that it's got because, for those of you who don't know, Dave Filoni's favorite battalion from Clone Wars was the Wolfpack, hence why Trapper Wolf, and why it's got the actual Wolfpack logo on there. But so this thing's awesome. I love the X-Wing helmets that they've done from the Black Series line. They got this one, the Luke Skywalker one, and then they also got the Wedge Antilles, which I don't have that one. That one's really, really hard to find. And then they have the Carson Teva one coming out, which I'm hopefully going to get a hold of that one too. But yeah, love this thing.
I love that you're an opener for helmets too. It's like one of my favorite things about you, because I feel like even if you're not an opener, helmets, you gotta open helmets. Like,
that's just it, because you've seen my collection. I don't open up pretty much anything.
No, I know,
except for the helmets.
I remember right when we met, I was starting to I was gonna move, and I had in my old apartment, my bachelor pad, the walls were just lined with like 300 figures. Like, they had like category shelves. They were all individually. The shelves came out not too far, so it was like a figure against the wall, so you could see everything. And I asked you and our good buddy Brad, I'm like, how do you guys display your figures, like, and get them to stand? And Brad was like, I use like museum putty or something. And you were like, I don't have to worry about that because I don't know my figures. And I was like,
that was exactly what I said.
And you and I have talked about like the benefits and like, that I don't need to buy multiple of like reprinted figures or like reissues because I don't collect the package. So I don't care. That goes right in the garbage. But for you, you're like, now I'm stuck buying 2 of this figure. But also you're not. Because you love having all the figures. That's what this is about. It's what brings you joy.
I mean, so for, you've seen how I have my collection set up, and for those of you at home watching this, I basically take these Black Series and Vintage Collection lines, and I go 1 through however many, and I have them stacked on my wall. I'll put a link down to a description of what my collection looked like, so you guys can actually check it out and everything like that, because it looks pretty good, honestly.
You can see what I've got up now behind me. It's like a Bad Batch tribute shelf, and then above I got a Clone Wars one, but I'm going big. We're redecorating the apartment for May the 4th. It's going to be going into storage, going into my closet and my catalog boxes, and like just a Star Wars free-for-all for 3 days. We'll get to that when we get to our May the 4th episode.
I wish I lived closer for that.
Dude, it would be, we'll meet someday in person. Eric and I have never met in person, everybody. We're just
that's the magic of this community though, man, and that's the magic of Star Wars, honestly.
You and this other dude who goes by I Am Not a Committee. He always loves when I reference something he said on.
I know who you're talking about.
On the it was funny. I said something last week that lightly referenced him, and he like called me and was like, "You motherfucker!" But anyway, so like he and I become like best friends, and we've never met in person. You and I are super close, I think, and we've never met in person.
I don't even like you.
Yeah, I know. But so yeah. But yeah, that's the beauty of this community and bringing people together.
And so now you guys have seen our collection, and now the fun thing, we want to help you add to your collection. So to celebrate the upcoming Tales of the Empire release coming out, we are very excited to put this one out there, and it is the Rebels Grand Admiral Thrawn. I gotta tell you, this is not that easy to get a hold of. So this is a great one that we're giving away. So we're gonna go ahead and give this away to one lucky winner on our Instagram and our TikTok. The rules for this are pretty simple. Follow my page at the Dadalorian, at the _Dadalorian_ and Sith Happens _Star Wars podcast on Instagram. Follow at the __ Dadalorian_ and Sith Happens _SW podcast on TikTok. Comment on either one of those videos with your favorite Star Wars character, And the winner will be announced on next week's episode. And at that point, we'll go ahead and we'll get this shipped out to you guys. So, but yeah, great little thing to get giveaway. This is I'm was pretty excited to grab a spare one of these, especially with the release of Tales of the Empire coming out.
Mm-hmm.
So, but in addition to that, we have our own giveaway. We are pretty much we have another giveaway. It's not one that I per se am doing myself. A company I partner with has an upcoming lightsaber giveaway. SaberMax Lightsabers is a company that I partnered with, which is doing a free lightsaber giveaway through their Instagram, which is at SaberMaxSG. Give them a follow and be on the lookout for their upcoming giveaway. And while you're at it, you can check out their website, sabermax.store. And you can also use the code the Dadalorian15, all one word, to get 15% off a lightsaber order. They do everything from RGBs to Profis to NeoPixels, you name it, man. So I got one coming in from them. I can't wait for it, actually.
That's the one you won?
No, that's a different one. But no, this is a company that I affiliated with, so like I kind of share their stuff and everything. Pretty great company. I'm actually pretty excited to get the one that I'm getting from them in. So
I know you're trying to get me to use that code we talked the other day because I don't own any lightsabers. I got a couple of replica blasters. I do someday. I will have a Luke Return of the Jedi Ignite the Green replica lightsaber. But yeah, and as a reminder, everything you have to do to enter any of these giveaways will be in the captions, both on our Instagram, on all of our Instagrams, as well as within this actual video down below. So I know that was a lot to keep track of, but we promise we will make it easy to execute.
Yes, and then yeah, guys. So 2 great giveaways and covering the Bad Batch episode and our own collection. So Matt, I think that actually does it for us today, though, man. We didn't have too much to cover. Single episode and no real big announcements today, or this week, sorry. So, I mean, do you have any debunks for us before we head out?
So you and I screwed up. We talked about it. We were going to debunk that song last week and what movie it was from. That debunk is to come in the future. The debunk this week is, will Matt and Eric do that? And I can not debunk, but confirm that we did not have time. But that will come next week. We'll start watching some clips and figure out where that song from last week's episode when they flew off after they saved Wrecker.
Maybe if my kids don't turn me into Patient X again, I'll have time to look it up.
Well, you got time in bed. That's no excuse now, brother. Anyway, you look like you were ready for a nap. So
not gonna lie, I kind of am.
Okay, all right. So I know you like to start our. You want me to start the sign off, or do you?
Yeah, sign us off, brother.
All right. Well, I will sign us off. I will say I am Matty Ice, as my dear friend calls me, known as Black Series Daily Desk on Instagram. Just letting everybody know that may the Force be with you always.
And this is the way.
I'm